So taxonomy is the study of the classification of living things. And there is a hierarchy of classification. So we put living things in categories. Right? We start with a very large category, end up with a very, very small category. So starting with very large, and we're going down to very small. So the first main category of living things is called a domain. And we'll go through the different types of domains, but really it's divided up into prokaryotes, eukaryotes. So remember, prokaryotes are cells without a nucleus, like bacteria. Eukaryotes have a nucleus. So domain is the first one. Okay, so for example, domain eukarya. That is a domain that includes all eukaryotes, all living things that have cells with a nucleus. Okay, so going down now. Now we're going to get more and more narrow as we go down. All right, so in the domain itself, the next group is called kingdom. And there are 6 kingdoms of life. For example, we have kingdom Animalia. So animal kingdoms. This is where animals are categorized. Okay, so we have domain, kingdom. Then the next category is called phylum. For example, phylum chordata. These are animals that are chordates. And a chordate really has a notochord, which is similar to a backbone. We have class. Class, for example, aves. That's the class of birds. That we have what's called order. For example, with the birds, let's say we're in class aves, and we want to look at Brutus. We want to figure out where does he go? He is in order Psittaciformes. So formes, suffix, these are orders. Not always, sometimes. Psittaciformes, these are parrot-like birds. Birds like parrots. Okay? Under order, we have family. Families are often end in A-D-A-E. So Psittacidae is the parrot family. Then, below family, we have genus. For Brutus, it is called Psittacus. And the last one, the most narrow classification of life, is called a species. Species is a group of living things. So a species is a group of living things that can reproduce and make fertile offspring. So it's not just being able to reproduce, because you can have 2 different species that reproduce, such as a horse and a donkey. They're not the same species. They can actually reproduce. They make a mule. But the mules are, most of the time the mules are sterile. That means the mules cannot reproduce. Sterile is the opposite of fertile. Fertile means you can have babies, you can reproduce. You can have babies. Sterile means you can't have babies. So mules, which are produced from crossing or breeding a horse and a donkey, mules most of the time are sterile. So you can't get a mule from crossing 2 mules. You get a mule from crossing a horse and a donkey. All right. We can cross a horse and a horse and produce a fertile offspring because they're the same species. We can cross a donkey and a donkey and get a fertile donkey because they're the same species. But if you're crossing 2 different species, you're not going to get fertile offspring, or rarely you'll get fertile offspring. So a species is a group of living things that can reproduce and make fertile offspring. So the offspring has to be fertile. So please make sure you understand the definition of a species, because we use it a lot in the class. We have used it a lot in the past, and we're going to be using it a lot in the future. You're going to hear it all the time. So now we're going to look at these categories that relate it to Brutus. So Brutus is an African gray parrot. African gray parrot is his species. And every species has two names, really. They have a common name, such as African gray parrot, and they have a scientific name, such as Psittacus erythicus. So the scientific name is usually written in Latin, and it's made of two words. And the first word is capitalized. And this two-word naming system was developed by a scientist by the name of Carolus Linnaeus. He developed the system called Binomial Nomenclature. We're going to be talking a lot about this in the future, but bi, remember, means two, nome, name, naming with two words. So every living thing has a species name, has a scientific name. It's made of two words. Usually it's in Latin. And when you see it in text, it's italicized. So if you're handwriting it, it's hard to indicate italics in handwriting. You would underline both words to show that it's a proper name. Now, there are species that are common, or that we also have a common name. Not every species has a common name. Like bacteria, we usually don't have common names for types of bacteria. But common species, we have a common name also. Because the Latin ones, they're pretty long, hard to pronounce. Okay, so anyway, we're going to go and look at Brutus here. So we're going to go through the domain. So the domain of Brutus is eukarya. So eukarya. And this is a domain of living things that have a nucleus. So we are also going to be in this same domain. Okay, so humans would be in this. All animals would be in this. All plants. It would be in this domain. Then we're going to go down to the next taxa. That is called a kingdom. And Brutus is an animal kingdom. And usually we see it in the Latin version, so we just call it Kingdom Animalia. So we are also there. We are also animals. So we are also in the animal kingdom. Phylum is Chordata. And we're also in this phylum. So these are generally animals that have a backbone. So now we are going from, first we start off with all living things that have cells with a nucleus. Then we're going to just animals. Now we're going down to animals with a backbone, with a notochord. Right, so a notochord develops into backbone. The next taxa is a class, and this is where we're going to split with Brutus. So Brutus is in class Aves. That's birds. Humans are in class Mammalia. So again, we're using the Latin. Mammals. So mammals are animals that have fur or hair and produce milk. So it comes from mammary glands, produce milk. Let's start with a P. The P is silent. Parrot. Well, parrots are not silent. Family is Psittidae. The genus is Psittacus, and his species is Psittacus erythicus. So I usually write all uppercase whenever I write on the board. In this case, I'm not going to, because I want to show you there's a certain way of writing these. For the species name, again, remember it's two words, binomial nomenclature. First word is always capitalized. And really, the species, the first word is the genus. But the species name includes the genus and another word. So this Psittacus erythicus then is the scientific name for African gray parrot. African gray parrot is the common name. So this just shows you how living things are categorized in taxa, starting with the domain, going all the way down to the species. And we looked at how we would classify an African gray parrot and how classification of human would be different. So you should memorize domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. There's a phrase to remember this, and this is that dumb kids play chess on freeway get smashed. So dumb kids play chess on freeway get smashed. So you're not going to play some chess on the freeway. Okay, so this is a way of knowing the order: domain, kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. Dumb kids play chess on freeway get smashed. Smart kids play chess off the freeway, right? Rock on, rock stars. Woo!